Well, we were going to focus this month on day sessions. However, I've come down to my little campaign water and had a bit of a result. It's been frozen for a week or so. And then we had got some really nice mild weather for sort of 3 or 4 days, bit of wind, bit of rain, and that was enough to thaw it out. I'd managed to get down and bait up before it froze, and it definitely paid off. For this session, I did actually move round onto the far bank on some other spots that I've been baiting up since I've been fishing here. And just goes to show you, a bit of pre-baiting definitely makes all the difference. Got a couple of little tricks to show you. I'm going to pop this one back, and I've also got another couple of fish to show you, would you believe it? So here we are in my new swim on the far bank. As I say, I did get here last night. I actually borrowed a friend's echo sounder and went round, not all of the lake, but a lot of the lake to see if I could find if there was anywhere where the fish were held up. And it hardly showed anything. And the only places it didn't really work is in the pads or in the weed. I'm not sure whether there's something up with it, there's a setting on there that picks up fish, or whether they just don't work as well in the winter. But I literally found about 2 fish on the whole lake. So did think to myself, well, there's a chance that they could be held up in the weed and the reeds and that. So I actually went round to all the major weed beds and reeds and got my oar in there and made loads of disturbance, And something that I've noticed in my garden pond at home, the little fish, I've got these little Sutton leanies in there, and when it gets really cold, you'll just find them set up in little weed beds. I think they just sort of wedge themselves into a comfy position so they don't have to use their fins, don't have to move, and literally just lay dormant. However, if I put a bit of bait in and wake them up, within sort of 5–10 minutes, they're mooching around looking for a bit of food and eating it. And whether it's worked here or not, I'm not sure, but I've had a bit of a mental morning's fishing, so it certainly didn't do it any harm. So when I got round here last night, I flicked 3 rods out in 3 different areas. One out to the corner of that island, well, sort of a rod length off of it. One in the corner of this island where there's some old pads, again, a rod length off of that. And one down this little channel down the back here, just off an overhanging bush. First bite came to the middle rod, this one. And then literally, as I say, it wasn't that much longer till I had the next bite, so I thought, well, I haven't had anything on the other rods, I'm going to move another rod to that spot, and that's a real key thing in winter. If one area is having it, then it's worth moving another rod to that spot too, because generally they tend to hold up in areas they're comfortable in, and there'll be quite a lot of fish there. That paid dividends, because literally 10 minutes later, that rod went as well. And yeah, I mean, look, I've got, got an awesome 20-pound koi in here, got a nice sort of upper double common, and I've also got another 20-pounder as well. So it's literally been pretty much non-stop since first light this morning. Well, my hands are just about warmed up after that last fish, but it's time to get them cold again. Let's check out these little babies. Well, there you go, there's the mental looking linear. First saw this one when Dick had it on me rods a couple of months ago. And when I saw it, I thought, I'd really like to catch that one. Absolutely mad looking fish, being that it's a linear and a ghost carp. Bit of an odd one, but quite like the odd ones. Being an odd one myself. And there's the nice deep dumpy common. Have a little flip up. Definitely an upper double. Absolutely cracking condition. One of the great things about winter fishing, the fish tend to always be at their best. All right, pop this one back and I'll show you some of the hook baits I've been using. And one thing I do like to play around with in winter is my hook baits. Well, to be honest with you, that's probably any time of the year. Even if I'm putting out a food source bait, I still like to mess around with different ones over the top of it. One of the ones that served me well over the years is the old pineapples, the mainline pineapples. I don't know what it is about them, but there's something that carp absolutely love. I've caught loads of fish on these in the winter, especially. One thing I've noticed with these bright baits is that they don't tend to work so well at night. Brilliant in the day, which just goes to show you, it must be a lot of it is down to the visual thing. They see that, it grabs their attention, and they home in on that hook bait. So at night time, I do like to swap over to more of a food saucy bait. These are the cell ones, and I've always got these on one rod anyway. So at the moment out there, I'm fishing one on the bright ones, one on the cell ones, and I've had equal amounts of bites on both of them. So it just shows it's not making a huge amount of difference today. Something I do like to do with these pineapple pop-ups is to keep re-glugging them. So I get myself a bottle of the mainline pineapple flavour, add a little bit, give them a good shake, let them absorb it, and they'll like literally dry out after a few days or so. Add some more, let them dry out again, and just, you know, repeat that process half a dozen times or so, and then they're glugged up to the max. As soon as they're in the water, they're kicking out loads of scent, and as I say, they're nice and bright too, so they've always got that visual aspect. And I was sitting there last night messing about and I actually glugged some up with some goo, but as well as the goo, I also put in some white dye, literally sort of 1/4 of a teaspoon into the tub. A good old splodge of goo, gave them a good shake, and the result is these messy little buggers got a bit of a powdery coating on them, and then as soon as you drop them in the water, they're sort of kicking off clouds of white, and then what you end up with is it sort of leaks out, and then underneath the hook bait you get sort of a bit of a glow. So again, I'm sure that doesn't hurt with the old visual factor, and in fact, literally, I think that was out there about 10 minutes after I put one of them on, and it was away, so it certainly didn't hurt. Now, I've been using these on choddies. I do love me little chod rigs, and obviously I've been baiting up with boilies, so in my mind they're swimming around looking for boilies. However, if you are using a little single yellow, a lot of people these days seem to be scared to put on a bag of pellets. Now, a tiny little bag of pellets and a little yellow pop-up used to just be absolutely awesome, but I think since the old underwater videos, people have been put off using pop-ups and using pellets or small bits and bobs. But if you're only using that as a hook bait, you know, you're casting out just that, no other freebies, then there's only that and the hook bait sitting there. So it's more of a case of, you know, that's extra scent for them to home in on. And they're homing in on that scent, and then there's a massive bright yellow pop-up in their face. So that's what they're going to be going for. Obviously with pellets, you know, they're quite oily, so it's not particularly good for the fish at this time of year. However, in small amounts, it's absolutely fine. And a lot of people won't use oily pellets in the winter, but carp still find them really attractive, you know, and there's still a really massive edge, but only in small amounts. Now, I wouldn't use one of them little bags with a chod rig, because obviously it's just going to pull up the line and it's just not going to be presenting itself well. However, tiny little short pop-up or a little balance bait, something like that, is absolutely ideal. And in fact, that's exactly what I've been doing on my third rod in this session, just roving it about every couple of hours, little bag of pellet, little hook bait, and in fact, it's been on the same spot for 2 hours and I ain't had a bite, so it's best I reposition it right now. Well, here we go. Here's my little Roy of the Rovers ready to go. Roving tactics, definitely something that works a lot in winter. As I said, they do tend to hold up in certain areas, and if you're not fishing in that area, chances are you're not going to get a bite. So it's worth hunting them out, basically, moving your rods every couple of hours. And it's exactly what I'm doing with this one now. I've got a little bag of pellet on there, little half a 10mm boilie and half a 15mm cell. So it's got the scent there that I've been baiting up with, but it's also got that little sight bob on the top there. Just going to flick this one off the corner of that island there. There's some dyeing pads. Another good little tip for you, actually. It's worth taking a photo in the summer when everything's at its fullest, you know, so you've got all the weed beds, the reeds and the pads, and then, you know, you can reference that in the winter and know exactly where they are, because obviously they will die back. This year, we haven't had a huge amount of heavy frosts, and as a result, you know, there's still a lot of weed about, but this one's just going off between. There's a set of pads on the left there and then another set of pads on the right, and I know there's some little dying ones in between, but there's a sort of a rod length or so gap, which I can imagine is a good passing through area. You see that sun's just hitting that margin there as well, so it's going to be an area that warms up in the sunlight. I've already clipped it up to save myself tying another bag up. Don't want it too tight, about a rod length or so off. Pull it back a little bit and swing it down. Lovely. Slacking it off, and that's a good one. Another thing I've found in a lot of swims on this lake is you've got this weed in the margins, which is a bit of a pain, so it's worth taking the time to make sure there's enough slack the other side of that weed. Otherwise, if you tighten your line up and it's all sitting tight in this weed, you're going to get a real bad line presentation. So if you give it plenty of slack, you can actually sort of flick your rod, if you like, and you can see that line just looping up there. So it's got plenty to sink the other side of that weed. Pull loads off, give it 5–10 minutes to settle itself into the bottom before messing about with the buzzer. I've still been fishing over a little bit of bait. When I got here last night, I sort of put 30 baits out over each rod, and then pretty much every time I've had a bite, I've topped it up with the same amount. One little thing I've been adding to my baits is a little bit of the stick mix liquid, the Cell one, proper thick, gloopy, coconutty stuff. Just add a bit of that to the old bottom baits, give them a shake up, and then it obviously just coats them. You've got that proper, horrible, sticky layer. Now, as soon as it hits the water, it's going to flush off, but what it's going to do is leave all them little scent trails throughout the water column. So if there are any fish within that area, there's little bits of scent there to just turn them on and make them want to feed. Now obviously it is a little bit messy, but it's nothing that a bit of water won't wash off. So literally 4 baits at a time, and then you get a bit of a spread. You want the fish swimming about, picking them up, looking for them. But what you don't get then, if you put a big catapult full of baits in, is you get a big old, you know, and it could potentially spook any fish that are there. So a few at a time, like I say, 20, 30 baits, just topping up the spot. Seems to be enough to keep them interested. Well, there we go. This one rounds off an absolutely awesome winter session. 3 mid-20s and an upper double common. Can't knock that at all, can you? Just shows you what a bit of bait application, a little bit of effort, and some awesome tasty hook baits can do. Result.